Another day of Call of Duty, another day of scrims. In this one, we're actually going to be on board with SCUMP as he drops 43 on the Florida Mutineers. So this is actually the first time on my channel that we've broken down a scrim against Florida with Slacked. So it just came out, I want to say like 3 or 4 days ago. I know that they've been playing with him for a while, but I really haven't seen them scrim much. Mainly because they don't stream, and there's really not too many other people that stream in total. But this is the first one where Slacked is officially their fourth, and overall, I will say that for the scrim total, this was the first map that they played. They made it through like 3 hills in checkpoint, and then in checkmate, and they got the scan and repair a couple times, and then they played one more map after that. Same thing happened, and they just weren't able to finish their scrim. So this was actually the only map that they finished in its entirety, and it was a pretty good map for them. So as of right now, things are going their way, right? If you're thinking about how the break went, the time inside of P1, they were able to push inside of P1 from their spawn and get that initial time. You can see that they got like 35 points initially off of P1, and then after they got those kills inside of P1, they were able to push through lights and where P5 is, get that back spawn, and now you can see that they're basically running it up here on the first set of rotations inside of P2 also. Now, obviously, Dash G and Envoy died from behind, so they're going to be pushed out from behind. So when it comes to the scenario they're in right now, what you want to do is just try to hold on and get as much time as you can inside of the rest of P2 here. And then if you die, just hold down spawns for P3, right? Give up this last 20 seconds or 18 seconds. Obviously, they're going to push it here, because these are really nice kills right there. That's a nasty 2-piece from SCUMP, hence the reason why he dropped like a mid-40 bomb. But that's exactly what you want, right? Hold on just as long as you can. And they were able to give up the last 7 or 8 seconds, and now as it flips over to P3, they have spawns. They were pushed out over towards mid-map. That's a big kill out of Slacked. We'll see where SCUMP spawns. He should still spawn back there. Yeah, so as long as they don't get wiped one more time from that person's that pushed out over by Garage over there, this could be, yeah, and there it is. So, and that's the thing. P2 and P3 really are the money hills on this map. If you end up going down once, that's usually okay. But when we saw SCUMP come up again and they got team wiped one more time, that's usually all that it takes to go ahead and spawn you out. And now they're just, see, this is like the exact same story that we had with P2, where they ended up getting spawned out, but they were able to hold it. And that's kind of what's going on here, is that they got spawned out. They were able to work their way back up, gain map positioning, and get time inside of P3. And also, as it's about to flip over to P4, I don't love this push. I don't love the fact that they're pushed up so far over here, just because as Florida's coming up off of spawn, you're probably not going to expect too many people taking that route. What is more familiar, what is more popular, is them pushing through caution. Of course, they want to push out from that back spawn, this left hand, this top P1 side of the map, so that when you get control of this area of the map, that's going to take your enemies, it's going to spawn them out over towards P2, and they'll have to go through that choke point, which you're going to see right here out of SCUMP. So what happens is that as they push P1, once you start to get around P1 and up towards bridge, that's going to take your enemies and it's going to force them to run through that top green area. And that's such a tough choke point to run through, especially when you have top floating and you have bridge and you have caution, and there are just so many headies that you can sit on. So, but overall, if you're thinking about the score as a whole, I mean, they're up by like 80 points. This is... Sure, I mean, P3 might not have went the way that they wanted to, and P4, they weren't able to hold or really get a ton of time inside of P4. But with P5 popping, I mean, they have spawns. They don't quite have map control yet, but this has been a really good first set of rotations so far. And those that are kind of veterans of my channel, I've said this quite a bit, that when you have 5 hardpoint maps, like some maps are only 4, like Crossroad Strike only has 4 hardpoints, but when you have maps that have 5, if you can end the first set of rotations somewhere around like 120 or 125, then you've essentially won that first set of rotations, right? Because if you win the first 5 hard points, you get 125. The second 5 hard points, you get 125. Now you're at 250, and you're on track to go through and win that map overall. Even though P3 didn't go their way, P4 didn't go their way, and P5 really hasn't gone their way either. Florida has done a really nice job of getting inside of the hard point from the bad side of the map and pushing out just a little bit further into like that ADOM building and over towards lights. And when you have that power position up towards top bridge, it's really easy to get kills on enemies that are coming in from the back. Let's go ahead. Let's just show that real quick. So for the first time today, let's bring up our Garrison mini map here. And we were just inside of P5. Now, the beneficial spawn is you want to be spawning back here. It's easier to get inside of P5. And once you get pushed up in lights here and kind of overlook P1, or if you can come through and get up to top green, once you get this control, you can really max out P5. The issue is that if you're coming from the opposite way, so Florida was just coming from these spawns on the right, and what they did is they just had somebody sitting top bridge, and once that happens, you can really shoot down any of these lanes here as they try to come up off of spawns. Also, if you have P2 control, you can push people over here and towards bricks and towards this ADOM building. And once you're inside here, there are so many head glitches, like right in these areas and behind boxes in here, that once they run through either of these choke points, so once OpTic comes up off of spawn, they're trying to run through here, there's no real cover. There's no power positions from this left-hand side of the map, right? You're trying to run through all these cuts where there are people on headies and people on boxes and people up on power positions on the bridge, and it's just really tough to get through. So that's a lot of what we saw there towards the end of the first set of rotations, hence the 80-point lead being cut down to about 30. But now if you're OpTic, you have to start thinking about, all right, let's try to contest inside of P1 as we can, but let's get inside of P2. Let's try to get up towards green control, because if you get somebody up on top of this platform and you can start to contest gun battles inside of top green, then it's a little bit easier to hold, right? If you're pushed all the way back. So if Florida's able to get these kills in top green, push down inside of P2, and then get a couple kills, that's going to spawn you out. And now you have to, again, almost similar to P5, you have to work your way back from the back of the spawn when the enemies has all the power positions and stuff like that. It looks like OpTic did just get flipped out, though. They just got pushed out through lights in P5, and now they're spawning over towards P3. So kind of a back and forth here. The lead is now only 13 points with Florida holding spawn. So I would expect the lead to flip, but best thing about scrims, especially in a tight battle like this, is that we can go ahead, we can listen in and hear exactly what they're talking about. I love to take a minute or two and just listen to Chicago's team comms so we can hear what they're trying to do, what their decisions are, where they're trying to hold, and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let me turn up the team comms and let's listen in as we continue throughout the second set of rotations here.
Wait, close. I'm dead.
You have a left,
oh my god, Jerry.
Yeah,
nice. Top crate.
Oh, I did not. Also, not sure if you saw, but on the right-hand side, when SCUMP comes back up, he's got streaks, or at least one streak. He's got an artillery strike, so that might help them break a rotation. Also, Danula, thank you so much for the subscription. Appreciate it.
Mid dead.
I have a caution point.
I think there's another on me right.
I have caution.
Yep, on me right.
Yeah, I think caution right.
One shot Caesar right. Absolutely.
Try not. I'm staying down. Close time.
Caution wake.
Front.
Hit the chunk, Caesar.
Good
job. Nice.
Front.
Three.
I
hit him with a nade. He's so weak.
I naded him too.
Just shown.
Oh, I just missed.
Dead.
Nice. I'm getting a couple. Stay down hill.
I have to lay down. They go above me. They're trying to above me.
In the back, wake. Dead. One front.
Watching over front.
I got 2 fronts.
Nice. Good job, Seth, too.
I'm pushing out.
Missing one.
I'm looking
Oh, I
caution.
didn't mean to do that.
You can push out. You can push out front.
Let's play to shot them green.
I got one back right.
Let's play to shot them green.
He's cat right now. Cat
dead. Jump. There's one behind me, guys.
One's in vent.
Behind me. Spawning behind you guys. You guys can get out.
Nice, too.
Huge kills.
And again, that's why P3 is such a power point on this map, or such a money hill, is because even though Chicago had those initial spawns, they actually got wiped when the hill popped. But they got a second chance, right? Like we said on the first set of rotations, you can go 4 down inside that hill, or at least 3 down, spawn behind, and then win those gun battles again, and that's exactly what you saw. Scump was able to get a massive 2-piece towards the front of that P3 hill, which extended the time, and now they're holding on to this 36, 37-point lead. Let's go ahead, let's listen back in, as we're now in P4, about to transfer over to P5.
Yeah, split.
Holding green, holding
Epic
green.
dead. Another one back here.
Yep, light street and
back
back
here.
caution, back caution.
Yeah, back here, back caution. Only one guy light street.
We're spawning
Light
cobble,
street
we're
down.
spawning
Cat
bricks.
stairs, cat stairs.
We're coming top green, hang on.
I got one time, another one backside time.
Hold, one shot time.
And Cat Street.
Yo, one guy's lights, one bullet, light street, one bullet.
Is he
On
already
him, mid,
lights?
Braille's dead.
I killed Hill, I killed
No,
Hill,
no,
killed
no.
Hill.
Yo,
Cat
one
stairs,
goes far
wait,
right.
one
Oh, wait,
shot,
cat
cat
stairs.
stairs, cat stairs.
Now, biggest thing for Chicago here is to keep map control towards mid-map, right? We saw the first set of rotations that they didn't have control of like mid-map or even up towards P5. So essentially what happened is that they got spawned back with what we drew up, and they really couldn't get back in towards the hill just because they lost so many gun battles in and around the hill. So as of right now, Scump's watching the push over here towards P2. Nice kill there, but this is much better, right? They're not allowing them to push out into lights or over towards P2. So this time is much easier. At least this initial time is much easier for them to grab.
We're behind here in the back.
Yo, jumped up lights on you.
Done that. One guy's
Both
weak.
dead, both
Nice.
dead, both
We got
dead,
three.
both
Let's
dead.
get lights, let's get lights.
We can spawn the back, guys.
Oh,
Got
my
lights.
bad.
The hell's
Lights.
baked?
In the back, I think, too.
Yeah, in the back.
Good call, good call, good
No,
call.
no, no, no.
Light street,
Light street, light street, light street, light street.
Yo, I have your green. I have your
Wait, cat stairs, 1 bullet.
I'm watching light street. They can be my square, they can be my square. Light street,
It was wake, it was wake, it was wake.
Gonna die, small, small.
Small dead. On time, not hurt.
He's challenging me.
Let's play
I can
for
help
green
though, I can help
first,
though,
guys.
hang on.
Yeah.
Right side bottom mid.
That's hill too. That's hill, wake.
Wake boxes.
One shot mid boxes, wake.
One more square, I killed him. One more low square.
One's lights.
Square to hill, right?
Yeah, square to hill. One's in lights, havoc, dead.
Nice one.
He's still
Push green.
cobble somewhere.
Top green.
Hopping your green, hopping your
One's
stand
still
out.
square, one's still square.
Two of them. Another one close right, close right.
I hit low rails.
Still in lights,
Yo,
lights,
I
lights,
spawned
lights.
out, I spawned out.
These are top
We're
green.
gonna flip.
Hopping on time.
I got
Stay
one
on.
kill him,
shot.
they kill him.
What? Absolute Colton
are top
time.
green, these are top
Absolute
green.
cold time. He's
I
crazy
can help you
spot.
look over hill.
Nice.
I can look over hill. I can look over hill.
Bottom mid, and lights.
I'm
He's
hitting
in the
vents.
tanks.
I'm hitting vents.
Shoot me from hill, left side hill or something. Need help, guys? It's gonna be rails too. He's caution.
I kill the kid caution. I kill the kid caution.
That's an interesting decision, by the way, how to push out after P5. We'll talk through it. I think they're maybe a little bit lucky that they only need like 5 or 6 points here to end the game, because had this gone back to P2, could have been a little rough there, because they're going to be spawning out as it goes over to P2.
Hit this. We need a second, guys.
We need 1 second. Yep.
We're going for it.
I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it.
I'm hitting low mid, Low mid, havoc. One shot low mid, havoc.
He's contest. He's contest.
Absolute low mid, havoc.
One more.
Havoc dead.
That's kill.
Actually, done.
Last guy low square. Nice. Good shit, guys.
All right, then.
Yeah, so those were big kills. Right there, we can see that Scum drop 43 and 23, so really impressive map out of him there. But the thing I wanted to point out is that as they were leaving P5, you heard them pushing over towards green, right? They didn't have control of P5, so when they came up off of spawns, they were going over towards P2 to top green. The problem is that as they try to rotate through this way, first of all, it's really tough to rotate this way because there are some nasty head glitches. Like if you're Florida and you have somebody on the stairs here by bridge, or you have somebody top floating, or you even have somebody top this top catwalk over here, I mean, that's a really tough place to get through. And essentially what happened is, as soon as they pushed over this way, right, as soon as they got over towards here and we saw Scum hit bottom mid over towards B-Dom, as soon as that happened, Florida was spawning, right? They were initially spawning on this right side of the map. So once that happened, all Florida did was just push behind, and had this eventually gone to a P2, say that score was like 235 to 214 or somewhere in that range. If it goes back to a P2, now all of a sudden OpTic was going to be spawning on this right-hand side of the map. And if you needed 15 or 20 points from this side of the map, trying to get through these choke points, getting over towards P2, we saw how tough it was to hold from the bad side there. So maybe they got a little bit lucky that they were able to get that time inside of P1. I do think that that's probably what they were selling out for, was to get inside of P1 and just get the last 10 seconds or so that they needed, but it could have gone the other way. So if you guys are new around here, this is what I do every single day of the Call of Duty League season, is I take film like this from scrims and from matches and break it down. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a like, as it always helps out the channel. And with that, thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.